Welcome back to the Ancestral Findings podcast. Today we're going to talk about one of the oldest, most essential, and most avoided jobs in history, the tanner. Now, if you've ever caught a whiff of a leather workshop, or even just an old pair of boots, you've only scratched the surface of what tanning was like back then. Tanners turned animal hides into leather, and they did it with brains, bark, lime, and yes, urine. The smell wasn't just bad, it was legendary. But here's the thing. Without tanners, there would have been no boots, no saddles, no belts, no book covers, no bags, and for some folks, no real livelihood. Leather wasn't a luxury, it was a necessity. Tanning is ancient, really ancient, over 5,000 years old. There's evidence of tanning in Mesopotamia, Egypt, and the Indus Valley. Those early tanners used natural materials, animal fats, brains, bark extracts, and sunlight. The tools were simple, but the process, not easy. The Romans improved on it, but not by much. They used oak bark and gall nuts, scraped the hides by hand, and soaked them in, you guessed it, human waste. Roman laws even pushed tanneries out of the cities. The smell was that strong. The word tanning comes from tannins, which are natural substances found in plants, especially tree bark. Tannins bind with proteins in the hide to keep it from rotting. Now jump forward to the medieval era, where tanning became a formal trade. Tanners joined guilds, and their kids often followed in their footsteps. Leather was big business, used for everything from armor to musical instruments. But tanners were still shoved to the edge of town. Literally. Nobody wanted to live next to a tannery. By colonial America, tanning was crucial to a town's survival. If you were starting a new settlement, a tanner was just as important as a blacksmith or miller. Tanners set up shop near creeks or rivers. They needed water and a lot of it. And because of the stench, no one wanted them downtown anyway. Let's talk about the process. It's not for the squeamish. First, you had to soak the hides in urine to loosen the hair, then you scraped off everything you could. Fat, flesh, hair, you name it. After that, the hides might go into a bath made with animal brains. That's right, some tanners used the brains of the same animal to help soften and preserve the skin. There's a saying, every animal has enough brains to tan its own hide. Then came the tanning pits, filled with tree bark and water. That process could take weeks or months. Hides were stirred, flipped, stretched, and dried. The end result? Leather, strong, flexible, durable. And despite the odor, people needed it. Now here's a story close to home for many Americans. Ulysses S. Grant, the 18th President of the United States, worked in a tannery as a boy. He was born in Ohio, and his father, Jesse, ran the local tannery. Young Ulysses was expected to help, and he did. But he hated it. He couldn't stand the smell or the mess. He much preferred delivering leather goods around town to working inside the tannery. Even though he left the trade behind, it shaped who he was. He knew the value of hard work, and even as a general and a president, he carried the grit of those early days with him. It's one more example of how our ancestors' dirty jobs laid the groundwork for future generations. Let's talk about the daily life of a tanner. This job took muscle. You hauled heavy, wet hides. You stirred pits of chemicals. You scraped, twisted, stretched. And most days, you went home smelling like death. In some cultures, tanners were viewed as untouchables. In others, they were respected but avoided socially. Even in small American towns, they lived and worked apart from the main street. But they made a living, sometimes a good one. They sold leather to shoemakers, saddle makers, bookbinders, and more. Some tanners trained apprentices and built thriving businesses. Others worked alone in muddy yards beside creeks. If you're wondering how to trace a tanner in your family tree, you've got options. Start with census records. From 1850 onward, the U.S. Census listed occupations. Earlier state or county records might mention them, especially in smaller towns. Check tax rolls. Tanners sometimes paid special fees for their equipment or output. Look into apprenticeship records. Tanning was often passed down, father to son or through formal training. City and county directories are great too. Many tanners advertised their services or were listed under trades. And if your ancestor owned land, property deeds might mention a tannery or water rights. You might even find mentions in newspapers, ads for hides, leather goods, or even legal notices about tannery operations. Obituaries sometimes included their trade. Now, like so many other trades, tanning changed with the Industrial Revolution. In the 1800s, chemicals replaced bark. Chromium salts made the process faster, sometimes days instead of months. But those chemicals were toxic. Factory tanners had a new kind of danger to face. Tanning moved to cities. Small-town tanners couldn't keep up. Big operations in places like Milwaukee, Philadelphia, and Chicago took over. Machines split hides, finished leather, and churned out mass products. Still dirty, still dangerous, just more efficient. By the 20th century, most tanning had moved overseas. In the U.S., it became highly regulated. But in places like Bangladesh, India, and China, traditional tanning continues, sometimes under terrible conditions. At the same time, there's been a revival of artisan tanning. Small shops use vegetable-based methods to produce high-quality leather goods, wallets, belts, journal covers, and more. These tanners embrace the old ways, with a modern respect for safety and sustainability. So what does it mean if you find a tanner in your family tree? It means you found someone whose work was essential. Someone who lived on the edge of society, sometimes literally, but made something lasting and valuable. Your tanner ancestor may not have gotten much recognition, but they turned raw, smelly, unwanted material into something useful. That's a powerful metaphor and a proud legacy. Their work outfitted soldiers, clothed farmers, bound the books that carried knowledge forward, and if nothing else, they taught us that value can come from effort, from patience, and even from mess. In the next episode of Tracing Dirty Jobs of the Past, we're going to explore the strange and scrappy life of the rag and bone collector. Early recyclers, grease sellers, bone traders, they lived at the margins, but their story is one you won't want to miss. If you've got a hard-to-find ancestor you're stuck on, I'd love to hear about it. Just head over to ancestralfindings.com and click on Contact to send me a message. While you're there, take advantage of our free weekly genealogy lookups. Explore thousands of articles and enjoy hundreds of podcast episodes. We've been helping family history researchers since 1995. And if you're looking for even more, check out our Genealogy Gold Q&A series over on Patreon. Thanks for listening, and as always, happy searching.